Who's a participant in the Room in the Inn program, and we'll be hearing his story and looking at the issue of homelessness, and John will share more about who he is. I've got some students from Odyssey program who are going to come up and introduce John and share a little bit about Odyssey and Room in the Inn. So if you guys want to come, that'd be awesome.
Hey, I'm Zoe.
And I'm Olivia.
And Odyssey is where we go downtown on Tuesday nights and we help out. We don't know. We just play games and we provide moral support and just have fun. It's just a lot of fun playing games and doing stuff downtown at Room in the Inn. And there are a lot of seniors that go, and so next year we're going to need a lot of you to come. And so it's a blast, and I really hope you guys come.
So this kind gentleman right here is John, or you can call him Cowboy, goes right either. And he has been an awesome part of our Tuesday nights. I met John, I think, about 3 years ago, and he's been such a blessing to have every Tuesday night. He lives in the Room in the Inn Center now. He has his own apartment there, and he's no longer part of the programs, but he comes every single Tuesday night without fail. And it's been great getting to know him, and we have so much fun with him. So, welcome, John.
Thank you very much. All right, am I on mic?
I think so. Am I on mic? Hello? Hello? No?
All right, thank you all for having me here this evening. I really do appreciate it. It's always a blessing for me to be able to share part of my story, regardless of age group, regardless of how many people I share my story with. Right from jump, I get as much out of sharing my story as I hope the people that hear me speak will get out of my story. What I've got here in Alcoholics Anonymous, they have what's called a chip or a coin system. August 3rd coming up, I will have 4 years clean and sober. To put that in perspective, that's as many years as I spent in high school. 9, 10, 11, 12. So anyway, I've got the coin, other than my 3-year coin, which won't be mounted until August when I get my 4-year. I've got coins commemorating different milestones in my recovery. Anywhere from 30 days to 2 years. Go ahead and pass this around, and if you have any questions as far as the coins, what they mean, what have you, please feel free to ask. Anytime during my sharing, if you have a question, please be free, feel free to ask.
That's kind of why I'm up here too, is that, you know, if you guys have any questions, now is the time to put up your hand and ask. We kind of wanted to go through a little bit of John's life so that you would get kind of an idea of, number one, how did we get to meet? John and I met basically fairly close after your sobriety in 2008.
Correct.
After it started.
Correct. I think I want to say it was late August, perhaps the early part of September 2008 is when I first started taking part in the game night activity, and initially I thought, oh no, game night with a bunch of teenagers, this is not going to be fun at all. Surprise!
Who was part of that? Does anybody remember? I mean,
not only...
Tiffany and Olivia. Is Daniel here? Because he was part of that too. No.
Not only has it proven to be enjoyable. But on nights where I'm not able to make it due to my work commitment, or either nights that the group has other activities scheduled, like here not long ago you all had your spring break. When I'm not there to participate, or you're not there to bring the participation, I miss y'all. I really do. It's been a blessing. In between sessions, I was talking briefly with Olivia. Now, I could. When she said 3 years, I thought, no, wait a minute, has it been that long? And she's going to get mad at me, but I'm going to tell her anyway. When Olivia first started coming to room in the inn, you said you were a freshman, right? She tried to blend into a wall. Now I don't think a team of mules could get her to a wall. and all joking aside, and in all seriousness, the young people that I've been able to associate with, I've been able to watch grow and mature. But on the other side of the coin, not only myself, but the others that participate in game night gives us a chance to reestablish socialization skills. When I was out there active in my addiction, I was real social with Bud, Miller Lite, Bud. Had all kinds of conversations with myself. I could always talk to myself. Now I talk to myself, I get bored. But
tell us a little bit about how you encountered alcohol. Tell us a little bit about how it all started.
Understand y'all had prom Friday night? Saturday night. Okay, well, my gears are back to this time frame, 1969. I went to the senior prom. Our senior prom was on a Friday night. Saturday morning, my girlfriend, who a few years later would become my wife and the mother of my 2 kids, went on a prom picnic with another couple we knew very well through our high school years. I was 17. That's the first time I took a drink of alcohol. Didn't like the way it tasted at all. But it helped me relax. I drank occasionally from the time I was 17 until I went into military service. I drank at birthdays, major holidays, family reunions, and such like. Once I got into the military, I started drinking on more of a social basis. My first duty station, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. I might drink 2 or 3 beers of an evening, maybe a 6-pack on Saturday, 6-pack on Sunday. By the time I left Hawaii, my drinking had increased, and had I known about what I know about my disease now, I'd recognize these warning flags. By the time I left Hawaii, I was drinking a 6-pack or better a night. My ex didn't drink. And I was up to perhaps a case of beer over the course of a weekend.
How did that affect your relationship with her, John, with your ex?
At this point, being as I was drinking on more a social basis, where I was still able, if I said to myself, okay, I've got this 6-pack. When the 6-pack's gone, that's it. So I was still pretty much able to put the brakes on my drinking. Went from Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, to Fort Polk, Louisiana. I was a Sergeant E5, enlisted. They had an NCO club on post. We had NCO meetings once a month. Started going to these meetings for the first little bit. Stay 10, 15 minutes after the meeting. Go home. My habits started increasing. Toward the end of my commitment at Fort Polk, I'd go to the NCO club for the NCO meeting, and it would not be unusual for me not only to close the place, but also not go home for 2, 3 days at a time. Needless to say, the little woman, full-blooded German, mind you, was not a happy camper. Went from Fort Polk, Louisiana, to Camp Red Cloud, South Korea, 25 miles south of the DMZ. And that's where my alcoholism really kicked in. When I reported to the company that I was assigned, was waiting at the outside the first sergeant's office, setting off in the corner, 2 cold drink machines. I'm okay, that's convenient. While I'm waiting, I go over to these Coca-Cola machines, both of them filled with 12-ounce canned beers, 25 cents. Alcoholics drink. Don't even have to leave the barracks, and I can get tore up from the floor up. First weekend, I'm in Korea. My roommate asked if I would consider going out for some drinks. I hadn't had a chance to see Division Finance. I had a $5 bill in my pocket. That's all I had. Right now, that is not a Coke Zero. It's not a clear plastic bottle. It is a 12-ounce green glass bottle. In Korea, they've got this neat little drink called soju jinro. In American currency, 30 cents. I don't know how many of these little jewels I drank that night. I do know that I have no idea how I got back to the barracks. When I passed out that night, I didn't come to for 2 days. Scary thought. Lose 2 days. Can't figure out where they went.
That couldn't have been very good for your military service.
Oh, it gets better. I come to find out that this nasty little drink called soju ginro, one thing here in the States, the beer industry has certain guidelines that they need to follow. Now so in Korea. I found out that the soju ginro was 90% formaldehyde by volume. I was trying to pickle myself from the inside out. Get falling down, crawling, gut-wrenching drunk. Not fun.
How did the military respond to all this?
Yeah, I was given an option by my first sergeant and company commander to go through, while I was still in the military, go through a 1-year rehab program. The other option was early out in the service. So I figured, okay, I'll go through this so I can save my career. Went in for the wrong reason. 3 months into it, I was repeating the same alcoholic behaviors I took. Now, I really didn't have a choice. I was given an early out. Now, I say wrong reason to save my career, as this alcoholic knows now more about his disease. The only way to this point that I've been able to maintain my sobriety and recovery is to realize that I'm doing it for me. Not doing it for my ex-wife, the kids. I'm not doing it for anybody but me. Little selfish, yes. Take care of me. But one step further. Priorities in life. God, myself, and then anybody or anything else. I have to keep God centered in my life. He's the man who saved my life in 2008 when I was bound and determined that Nashville was I was drunk because it was Nashville's fault. I was leaving Nashville. I left Nashville all right. I got as far as the VA hospital in Nashville. They transported me to the VA hospital in Murfreesboro by ambulance. 5 days detox. When I left detox, one of the nurses that was taking care of me very kindly informed me that when I came in, my blood alcohol content was 0.32. 0.40 is coma and or death. God didn't want me to die that day. When I was active in my addiction, I couldn't figure out why He kept me alive. I know now He's keeping me alive so that I have the opportunity to share briefly what I've gone through, hoping that perhaps if y'all have family members or you have friends that are suffering from this disease, you might have a better understanding as to how to handle it. And the alcoholic doesn't just ruin his life. He ruins everybody's life. Wife, parents, kids, across the board.
Does alcoholism just happen to enlisted men? Is it?
No. Alcoholism is very non-discriminatory. Alcoholism does not care how old you are. Doesn't care if you're Catholic, Buddhist, Islam. Doesn't care what religion. Doesn't care if you're pink with purple polka dots. Alcohol can get you. It can get any one of you. If employers in this country today were as non-discriminatory as my disease is, we wouldn't have to worry about unemployment. Alcoholism doesn't care. I've known alcoholics, confessed alcoholics, as young as 21, and as old as it. There was a member of my AA group who has since passed on, but passed on sober, which is my hope that when I pass on, I'll pass on sober. He didn't come to the rooms of AA till he was 73. He lived to be 83. 10 years clean and sober. So just as it's non-discriminatory as far as how it grabs you, don't care how old you are. Don't care. I know folks that suffer the disease. There was one man, had 16 years. Fell off the wagon after 16 years. It's a very vicious disease. It don't care.
How did Room in the Inn, you went through the detox program in Murfreesboro,
Right.
where you had such a high blood alcohol level. How did, because we're real familiar with Room in the Inn, how did Room in the Inn become a guiding light for you?
Now, briefly, a little more background information on that. Once I got out of detox, I went through a 30-day alcohol treatment in Murfreesboro. Before I was discharged from the treatment center, I was able to secure a bunk with the Veterans Program at Room in the Inn. I was a part of that particular program from August of 2008 to August of 2010, at which time I was privileged enough to be chosen as one of the men to stay in the apartments
I need to
at
interrupt
Room in
him.
the Inn.
He was the second person to live in the apartments that Room in the Inn created for men who had been through this program. John was the second resident of this apartment where they actually pay for their own apartment. So that's a huge accomplishment, and a lot of the apartments are they pretty much all occupied now? That was back in 10.
Right now, I know of one apartment that is on the 4th floor, and my apartment's on the 4th floor. I know of one apartment that is open, and unfortunately, but just to show you again how devious this disease is, unfortunately, the person that left the apartments here about 2 weeks ago, he was caught coming into the ground floor where the day room is. And for some unknown reason, one of the staff opted to check his bags. They found a bottle of vodka in his bag. Went up to his room. Staff member came out with two pint bottle of vodka and 1/2 G. And one thing that room in the inn will not tolerate, and it's something that we know up front and we sign paperwork to the effect, there is absolutely zero tolerance.
That's how vicious that disease is.
For alcohol or drugs. Little side note on that while I'm thinking about the alcohol and drugs. We are subject as residents for random drug testing. My last drug test was earlier this month. The gal who was processing the test results always knew me as Cowboy. Didn't even know my first name. I was fixing to walk out the door, go back. She said, "Wait a minute, what is your name? I just know you by Cowboy." She had no clue.
I want to let you guys know that John has 2 part-time jobs. One at one at
Greer Stadium, and the other
at the Sounds.
at Bridgestone. No, Greer Stadium is Sounds baseball, and I also do seasonal work at Bridgestone Arena, Gold Preds.
Hey, John, we are probably at a point now that we could ask for questions if these guys...
Feel free, yeah.
I mean, if you guys have any questions for John, now is the time to ask.
And the only dumb question is when you don't ask.
I mean, I don't want to stop John from talking, but I do want to be able to let you guys ask questions. And do you have anything you want to ask him?
Yes, sir.
When did you realize, at what point did you realize that there was a problem?
Well, when I was active in my addiction, I had absolutely no realization. Now, however, that I've got some 24 hours under my belt, my real problem with alcohol started in the late 1979, early 1980, when I was in Korea. When I was active in my addiction, it was my addictive behaviors. That was my behavior. That was normal to me. But yeah, late 79, early 1980 is when I realized that there was a problem, but it didn't stop me from drinking the first time until 2004. That one didn't go successfully. So far this time is. God, myself, and all y'all. Priorities. And learning to listen to God instead of trying to tell God what I'm going to do. He tells me what I'm going to do. And I have found that the funniest way to get God laugh is for me to make plans. He says, "You're going to do what?" And I don't think so.
Anybody else have a question? Nothing's too silly.
John, you mentioned 2008 when you found Christ. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I don't know if it's so much a matter of I found Christ or Christ decided that he'd had enough of my alcoholic behaviors. When, at that point in time, when I was ready to leave Nashville, leave my alcohol habit behind me, I was bound and determined that I was going to hit the 440 and get out of here. God had other ideas because my feet carried me over to the VA hospital. So I figured, okay, it's time to let somebody else steer this car for a while. I've crashed it too many times.
John does these kind of talks for a lot of different churches. So he gives back a lot this way, which is, I think God had a very special plan for our friend.
And I had no idea what it was.
At that time.
At that time, no. And another little sidelight, and I meant to share this with the last class, but yesterday I was on my way out to do a little shopping, and one of the staff members asked if I was doing anything yesterday morning, and I said, well, it's nothing that I can't probably change around. To ask her what was up. She said, well, we got a group of high schoolers coming in from Father Ryan High School. Would you mind sharing your story with them? I said, you don't need to. I'm available. I'll share. It's one thing I've found. When I share like this, it serves as a reminder to me where I was in my behavior just a very short time ago. 4 years isn't a whole lot of time. I spent that much time in high school. I spent another 20 plus years active in my addiction. Don't get me wrong. without being cocky, 4 years is something for any recovering addict, alcoholic to be proud of. I have to be careful not to carry the pride too far and get complacent. That's when I've got to worry about picking up. If I pick up, I know I'm going to get drunk. If I pick up and get drunk, I don't know if I've got another recovery. And I don't want to put myself through that again. I'm getting too old.
Which is one of the reasons that I want to encourage you to come Tuesday nights. When we go downtown, I got tons of room. Okay, we can take
plenty of room.
Take as many of you as y'all want to come. We have a lot of fun. All we do is play games and we talk. That's it. I mean, that's how we got to be such great friends. And I would say that Olivia shares the friendship. Tiffany does. Zoe does. Brian does. All the ones that have gone constantly. We just get to know these guys. It's never too late to join our group. I think we're actually going to keep going during the summer. So, yeah, I saw a question back here.
Yeah, John, what's the best way, in your opinion, to prevent alcoholism?
Best way to prevent alcoholism? Don't take the first drink. Because I say that to say this. It wasn't until a few short years ago that the medical profession had designated alcoholism as a disease. They have also determined that each one of us has a recessive gene in our body, and this particular gene is only activated by alcohol consumption. As long as you leave that gene, as long as you let that gene sleep, you're not running the risk of becoming an alcoholic. Now, does everyone who is everyone who drinks an alcoholic? No. My mother and dad both drank. I never saw my dad drink more than 3 beers in a night. I never saw Mom drink. On a bad day, Mom would have 2 mixed drinks a night. I never saw my parents drunk. I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. They drink. Of those people I just mentioned, I'm the only one that drank to the point or something in my body. I'm the only one in my immediate family that is an alcoholic. I'll always be an alcoholic. The difference being, that as long as I don't pick up, I am a recovering alcoholic. When you hear once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, yes. Because all it takes is that first drink. And for this alcoholic, one is too many, and 1,000 wouldn't be near enough. I'll drink until I run out of my own money, and then I'll start bleeding off of anybody else who feels sorry for me.
John, we want to thank you for coming tonight and sharing your story. We really appreciate your time and your humility in sharing the things that God has done in your life and in your journey. And thank you, Carol, as well, for your leadership with Odyssey and taking our kids every Tuesday night. And as Carol mentioned, there'll be the opportunity to go again, possibly in the summer. We're just making sure we have enough adults to make it happen, and we hope to keep going every Tuesday night in the summer. If you want to grab a hand, we'll pray. And then I also want to mention that next week is the last kind of regular schedule. We will have worship next week. We knew we wouldn't have time for it with what we did last Sunday night and this Sunday night. And then on May 6th is our very last Sunday night of the semester, which is crazy, and I know crazy for those seniors too. Let's pray.